drowning in debt and unsure which method to use to get yourself financially free? Discover the ultimate showdown between the Debt Snowball method and the Debt Avalanche method, and find out which one's the perfect match for your financial journey. And stay tuned to the end as we do a comparison side by side and reveal which one is the best for you individually. Welcome back to Simply Money, your ultimate destination for financial freedom. Thank you for joining me today as we look into these two strategies for getting out of debt. We'll break down the pros and the cons of both methods, and then determine which one is best suited for your financial journey in your particular situation. So if you're ready, let's get started. First, let's talk about the Debt Snowball method. This strategy focuses on paying off the smallest debt by amount, regardless of interest rates. The premise behind this method is to pay off debts quickly to gain momentum and help yourself to keep going. Because if you're paying off larger debts first, it'll take some time before you see that being gone and eliminated. So by taking care of the smallest debt first, you're seeing some momentum and there's a debt gone. It completely takes it off your plate. As with both methods, there's some pros and cons. Let's look at the pros first. One, you get quick wins. By paying off these smaller debts first, you get quick accomplishments and a feeling of success, and it helps motivate you to keep going. The second pro is simplicity, because this method is simple and easy to follow. You just start paying off the smallest debt, putting as much money on that debt as you possibly can while paying the minimum amount on all other debts. This is to get that debt eliminated, and then the key is to roll that amount into the next smallest debt. There are cons, however, and we'll look at those now. So the biggest con on this is you may be paying more interest because you're not focused on highest interest, you're focused on the smallest amount. So in the long run, you're actually paying a little bit more on interest rate. But this is focused on those who need emotional motivation, those who need emotional support, those who need emotional victories. This is an emotional focus, trying to gain momentum and get yourself to a place where you're gaining and gaining on your debt. Let's look at a real life example to help bring this to light so we can see it in action. We'll look at Sarah, who had $15,000 worth of debt. She had a $500 credit card at 12% interest rate. She also had a personal loan of $3,000 at 18% interest rate. And her third debt was a student loan of $11,500 at 6% interest. So, knowing what we've already discussed, which one would you be paying the most on first in the snowball debt method? That's right, the $500. We're going to put as much money as we can scrape up until we have that paid off. The student loan and the personal loan, even though you have a higher interest with the personal loan, we're going to focus on this $500 first and get it knocked out. We're going to pay minimum on the other two. Then we're going to take the money we were paying on the $500 loan, the credit card, and we're going to roll that into paying on the next one, which would be, that's right, the personal loan. It's $3,000. It does have a higher interest, but we're going off the lower amount. So we take the credit card payment that we were making, the minimum amount we were making on the personal loan, and now we make that as much as possible each month, paying that down. So in Sarah's case, she paid $200 a month on her credit card. She also had to make a minimum payment of $300 on her personal loan, as well as $300 on her student loan. So her $800 a month went $200 to the credit card, $300 to the personal loan, and $300 to the student loan. It took her just over 2 months to pay off the credit card. She was then able to take that $200 and pay it toward her personal loan, along with the minimum payment she had been making. Now she's paying $500 a month on her personal loan and still making the $300 a month minimum payment on her student loan. By doing that, it takes an additional 6 months for her to pay off her personal loan. So now she's been about 8 or 9 months and she has 2 loans completely paid off. She takes that $500 she had been putting on her personal loan and she rolls that into the $300 she's paying minimum payment on her student loan. Now she's paying $800 on her student loan. So remember, it's taken her about 15 months to pay off the student loan, plus about 6 months to pay off the personal loan, and the 3 months on the credit card. Combined, she's looking at 24 months total time. So 2 years, she's debt free. She has this burden off of her. Now, guess what? She has $800 of cash flow that she's not paying toward her debt, that she can use toward investing and toward paying down her mortgage or saving up for a down payment on a house. She has put herself in a much better place. It took 2 years and she paid about $2,500 of interest. Now, let's look at the Debt Avalanche method. This is very similar, but we're taking the approach of highest interest first. So whatever the highest interest debt you have, you're tackling that, paying as much as you can possibly come up with, and all your other debts, you're going to pay the minimum amount. You make those minimum payments and you focus on the high debt. The goal in this, obviously, is to get your debt paid off as quickly as possible and by paying as minimum of interest rate as you possibly can. Unlike the Debt Snowball, where you're focused on small, quick wins for motivation, this is a much more of an analytical and mathematical approach where you're interested in saving as much money of paying interest as possible. So that's where you're going to need to make a decision, and we'll look at that here in a moment. But let's look a little deeper at the avalanche method. So the pros that we have are you're paying down interest much quicker, and you'll end up in the long run paying less interest. So the number one thing is paying less interest. The second pro is that you're going to pay off your debt faster. Because you're paying down high interest rates first, you're eliminating the time that it takes to get out of debt. And of course, how much debt you have, how different the interest rates are, will make this whole scenario vary. But one of the cons is slower progress in seeing victories. It may take you longer to pay off your first debt because it's a larger amount and has a higher interest, so you're not seeing those quick victories. So that is one of the cons. A second con is complexity. Complexity because you have to pay attention to the interest rates and make sure you're aligning this method to paying the highest interest rates first. Whereas the snowball method, you just simply line them up smallest to largest. It's not super complex, but it does require a little bit more time to look into and make sure you're understanding what each loan is based upon. So let's look at John as an example. He has the same debts that Sarah had. A $500 credit card at 12% interest. He had a student loan of $11,500 at 6% interest. And he has a personal loan of $3,000 at 18% interest. Based on this method, the avalanche method, which debt is he going to pay off first? Which one is he going to put as much money as he can scrounge up while making minimum on the others? That's right, the personal loan of $3,000 because it has an 18% interest rate. So in John's scenario, let's look at how this would break down. His first month, he paid $450 toward his personal loan. He paid $50 toward his credit card as the minimum payment, and he paid $300 minimum payment to his student loan, a total of $800 just like Sarah. So at this rate, it would take him about 6 months to pay off his personal loan. He would then take that extra money, the $450, and roll it into the $50 minimum payment he's been making on his credit card. With a balance of only $500, we're just looking at one more month. He'll have that paid off. Then he takes that $500 and he rolls that into paying on his last debt, which is a student loan, which has the lowest interest rate of 6%. So now he's putting his $800 a month toward his student loan at 6% interest. Altogether, this is going to take John about 20 months to pay off everything. So he's going to be out of debt about 4 months quicker than Sarah. But he's also going to only pay about $2,100 of interest versus Sarah's $2,550. So he saves about $450. Again, this is just a rough scenario to give you an idea of how this process works. You see the difference? It took John 6 months to see his first victory of having a debt paid off because he approached the highest interest first. Now, this could vary a lot depending on how big the debts are, how much the interest rates are, how many different debts you have. You have to look at your scenario. look at your scenario and write it down on both methods. Line one side up on the Debt Snowball. Line the other side up on the Debt Avalanche. Base it on approximate payments and see how long it would take you for each debt you have. Also see how much you would pay in interest on each method. And then you decide. So let's recap real quick comparing the two. We'll start with the Debt Avalanche since we just went over that one. So we have here the Debt Avalanche. Let's look at each one of these key points. First, line up your debts by smallest to largest based on interest. Highest interest first, all the way down to your smallest interest. Second, start paying as much as you possibly can on that highest interest and paying minimum payment on the others. When you pay off your highest interest, roll that amount that you're paying down into your next and continue that until you paid off the final debt, just like John did in his scenario. Now, recapping the Debt Snowball, line up all your debts, smallest amount to largest amount, just like Sarah did. Pay your smallest amount first, putting as much as you can on that while paying minimum on the others. As you pay off your smallest debt, take the amount you're paying, roll it into the next smallest, and continue that until all debts are paid off. That's the difference between John and Sarah. So which method works best for you? The Debt Snowball or the Debt Avalanche? They both have great merit. You can see lots of different people pushing one or the other. I don't think there's a right way to do it universally. I think you individually have to decide. I always tell people, if you're much more of an emotional person and you need emotional victories, if you need that kick, that boost, then go ahead and follow the Debt Snowball method. If you're somebody who's very analytical, you look and you see the math and you realize, I'm going to follow that because I want to save as much money as possible, then do that. The key is you need to look at your money, you need to look at your debts, you need to make a management plan of that and then stick to it. Write it out. Post it somewhere that you see it constantly. Put out a chart that shows progress. Give yourself emotional boost along the way. Congratulate yourself when you do things and you get things paid off, or if you go and make some side money to help accelerate the process. It's okay. The bottom line is, if you don't get the root problem under control and stop going into debt, you're never going to become debt free. The first thing I recommend you do is grab a pair of scissors, grab your credit cards, and cut them things up. It is time to stop the process. It is time for you to claim your financial freedom, and the journey starts today. Make that bold move. If you need encouragement, drop us a comment below. We're here as a community to help you achieve your financial freedom. If you enjoy these videos, leave us a like, leave us a comment, let us know. Let us continue to bring you these things that encourage you and help you along your way. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time on Simply Money.